In this module, we will learn the inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs of the estimate costs process. Estimate costs is the process of making estimates of the costs for each scheduled activity. These costs may be attributed to various activity resources, such as people, equipment, or materials. This should also include documentation on what assumptions have been made and what spending alternatives exist. This process is nearly identical to the estimate durations process in the prior chapter. Basic concepts remain the same, however the focus is on providing educated guesses for the cost of each scheduled activity rather than duration. The estimate costs process includes several inputs from other planning processes. First, the cost management plan should describe how this process should be performed. This considers the uniqueness of the project environment to define who should be involved, which tools and techniques will be utilized, the way results should be documented, and the way in which the process may be iterated. Since we will be estimating the cost of work, the scope baseline will be an input. This includes the scope statement, which describes the project work, as well as the WBS and the WBS dictionary, which describe the work packages. Most estimating will be done at the individual activity level. Therefore, the project schedule is also an input. The project schedule provides information on the individual schedule activities, as well as the estimated durations and resource requirements, which may affect cost estimation. Similar to estimating durations, estimating costs involves guessing activity costs based on uncertainties that are existing in the project environment. The risk register is a project document used to track these uncertainties and is an input to the estimate costs process. Estimate costs and identify risks have an iterative relationship, as the risk register can be used to help estimate costs, and cost estimates can be used to help identify new risks. Enterprise environmental factors can be a major input to defining cost estimates. These may include marketplace conditions, stakeholder culture, and the organization's existing infrastructure and tools. Finally, organizational process assets may contribute a template, lessons learned, such as actual data from past projects, or provide organizational policies and guidelines that will be used to shape the estimates. The first three key tools and techniques are all also key tools and techniques of the estimate activity durations process. Analogous estimating is the use of actual data from a similar project as a basis for predicting future cost estimates. Parametric estimating is the use of a mathematical equation to estimate the total cost of an activity based on a known quantity and rate. For example, if it costs $1,000 to paint a large room, it may cost $2,000 to paint a room that is double the size. Three-point estimating is the use of averaging three different estimates, most likely, optimistic, and pessimistic, to estimate the cost of a project activity. Bottom-up estimating uses individual cost estimates for the smallest level of detail and aggregates them up to higher levels. For example, an activity can be broken down into smaller tasks. The cost of each task may be estimated, then added together to find the estimated cost of the activity. Reserve analysis is a technique used to counteract risk by adding a buffer into the cost estimate. In this process, contingency reserve can be added at the activity level based on an identified risk. For example, if we know that a rise in the price of oil might increase transportation costs, we might add a little extra into our estimate in case this event occurs. Cost of quality is a technique used to evaluate all of the costs that will be incurred to ensure desired deliverable quality. We will discuss this further in Chapter 8. To round out our tools and techniques, expert judgment, project management information systems, and decision-making may be used. These tools include the use of subject matter experts with experience doing the work and specialized estimating tools that can provide algorithms for estimating based on historical data and parameters unique to the project at hand. There are two key outputs to the estimate cost process. The primary output is cost estimates for the resources needed to complete each individual schedule activity. These resources may consist of people, equipment, and materials. If the project schedule included 150 schedule activities, then we would expect to see 150 individual activity cost estimates. When assumptions are made based on known uncertainty, contingency reserve may be incorporated into these activity cost estimates. Since these estimates contain uncertainty and there may be alternatives in the scope of work, it is important to document how these estimates were defined. It may also be useful to document how much confidence exists within the estimates. A rough order of magnitude estimate may be in the range of -25% to +75%, while a definitive estimate may be in the range of -5% to +10%. It is also useful to document any assumptions, constraints, and anticipated variances. Finally, many processes may lead to updates to project documents, such as the risk register or activity attributes. Since project documents are not subject to the same levels of approval that baselines are, these updates will not require formal change control. However, to ensure best practices of proper versioning, access control, and notification, it is important that the configuration management plan is followed. This process is nearly identical to the estimate durations process in the prior chapter. Basic concepts remain the same. However, the focus is on providing educated guesses for the cost of each individual schedule activity rather than duration. These costs may be attributed to various activity resources, such as people, equipment, or materials. This process can be performed iteratively through progressive elaboration to make estimates more precise. The first iterations may develop a rough order of magnitude estimate, while a second iteration may develop a definitive estimate. This should also include documentation on what assumptions have been made and what spending alternatives may exist.